Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. What is leverage? It's a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It means they need you more than you need them. That's the only way you're going to get any kind of real deal. Labels are just not developing artists anymore because of potential talent, and publishing companies are having a hard time with potential writers. You're going to have to bring more to the table than just what the possibilities of what you could turn into. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B. That's what you're going to need is leverage to be successful. And C.L.I.M.B. stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. The genius that came up with that is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he also helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then multiple times a year he'll connect you with the pros and give you an at-bat, an opportunity to see how you're competing in the real pro world there. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They help you find your sound, and they help you grow your audience so you can become the artist that everybody loves, so you can get paid. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Hey man, how you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm tired. The family was up till about midnight last night. Actually, I was up to like 1 something, but we were at the airport. Some friends of ours were coming in from China with their new daughter.
Oh, wow.
Infant 12-year-old or 13-year-old. I can't remember what she is.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So we took 3 of the boys. Ruby stayed at the house. She was sleeping. With my parents were there. We didn't leave her alone. But we took the boys and Ren got a ride out in Chinese, welcome home and stuff. We got to see them. So it was very cool. But I had a publisher meeting at 8 o'clock this morning, and I had to leave way early for Nashville traffic.
So you got a long candle with the wick at both ends.
I'm sleepy. I'm a little sleepy, so my mouth might not work right, which is not good because this is my episode.
Yeah, you gotta drive here.
I gotta drive this.
All right. Well, hey, once again, we want to give a big shout out to our new partner, Disc Makers. Listen, we are proud. The C.L.I.M.B. podcast is proud to partner with Disc Makers. They've been supporting indie musicians before indie music was even a thing. When you're ready to make CDs, DVDs, or vinyl, which we're going to be doing. Definitely vinyl with the Lonely Highway Boys.
Cool.
Or if you need to distribute your music and videos with customized USBs, Discmakers is the only place you need to go. Order online at discmakers.com, which is DISCmakers.com, or give them a call at 800-468-9353. Once again, that's 800-468-9353.
And while you're there, check out the Guides and Resources tab and download some of their excellent free guides. They've just revised and expanded their home studio handbook, which has a ton of great advice and information for both newbies and studio veterans. So you can find them online at Discmakers. Actually, the copy here says www.discmakers.com. That's DISCmakers.com. Or give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
Hey, let's take care of a little business too.
Yes.
And if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B. community, please do so. Search for the C.L.I.M.B. community. Do it. Search for the C.L.I.M.B. community on Facebook. Ask to be let in. We'll let everybody in. Just be good boys and girls, or we will roadhouse you. And subscribe to the podcast. That way, all the episodes and mini-sodes on Friday come automatically into your phone. Leave a rating and review, 30-second rating and review, 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And finally, share it with somebody, man. That's the best compliment you could give us, right?
We appreciate it. So, yes, what we're talking about today is, are your songs road ready? We'll get to the review in a second. If you want your songs to have a better chance at commercial success, you're smart to care about what people want to hear on the way to work. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a meeting from my early Nashville days after this review.
Okay, yeah, this is a 5-star review by Whiskey Soldier. Very quick review. It says informative, entertaining, innovative, great way to stay centered mentally as one aspires to make moves in music, and that's from Whiskey Soldier. So thank you, Whiskey Soldier.
Thank you, Whiskey. So that's nice vocabulary there.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Was that a tasty 5-star?
Yes, sir, it was.
Oh, I love those. Thank you. There we go. All right, so we're talking about, as you're throwing your glasses, Johnny's angry today. No, he's not.
It's been a rough morning already.
It has been. It's been a full day this morning. So, all right, so are your songs road ready? What if you want a better chance at commercial success? It's smart to care about what people want to hear on the way to work. So early on in my Nashville days, I sat down with Ralph Murphy at ASCAP. Now, if you're not familiar with Ralph, you need to look him up, Google him. He's great. He's a songwriter, mentor. You can find him all over YouTube. He's a hit writer himself, and he's just an interesting cat, and he lays it down. So I was meeting with Ralph over at ASCAP, and I played him either a slow song or a sad song. I can't really remember, but most likely it was probably slow and sad. And Ralph just kind of looked at me and said, "Who wants to hear this on Monday morning on their way to work?" Good point, Ralph. So Ralph schooled me.
Damn it, Ralph, you cornered me with logic.
You and you're thinking about the listener. He schooled me on what is affectionately known around town as Murphy's Laws. Right, Ralph Murphy's Laws. So he had a blog that he would, or column, I don't know, before blogs, whatever. But anyway, some of Murphy's Laws. So first thing on a Monday morning, most folks think, what are you doing? You're heading off to either a school or a job that you don't particularly like, right? Mm-hmm. Your coffee hadn't kicked in yet. Listeners are still sitting droopy-eyed behind the wheel. They're kind of dreading the next 9 to 10 hours. Right? Yeah. For most people, right? Yep. I mean, for me this morning, I actually had a publisher meeting at 8 o'clock, so I had to leave Mount Juliet at 7. Thought an hour would be enough. An hour was not enough.
Oh my gosh.
And so, I'm driving in, but at least it's something I'm looking forward to. But although I'm stressed about, the drive, I'm like, I don't want to be late. So, I like what I do, and that wasn't fun this morning. So is that time, that morning drive time, is that a good time to hit the listener with a funeral march?
Yeah.
They probably already feel like they're on a funeral march of their own.
That's right.
To the cubicle graveyard, right? So, radio wants to give them something to put a smile on those little sad faces, those little sad mourning faces. Yeah. So, if you don't believe me, think about this. Morning DJs, like the most popular ones. Oh, yeah. Bobby Bones, before that Jerry House, Ryan Seacrest, whoever your local guy or girl is, or combo. Mm-hmm. Are they quietly thoughtful, gloomily sharing the most negative news from the night before?
No.
What are they like, Johnny?
They're cutting up, laughing. It's like comedy circus in the morning. Mm-hmm. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I think of Howard Stern, WCCC, like when he was having to do all those stupid shows before he became Howard Stern.
They're the morning DJs, the popular ones. They're uplifting, they're fun, they're funny, they're positive, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, I think there's a songwriting lesson in that. Why do they want their DJs to be positive, uplifting, whatever? Because they want listeners listening. So therefore, they must figure that is lifting their spirits is a good way to get them to continue listening. I mean, there's the whole brand of I think C.L.I.M.B and the Fish, like Christian radio stations, like positive, encouraging, K-Love.
Yeah.
That's their tagline. We're positive and encouraging, And if your song is not positive and encouraging, you're probably not going to get spun a whole lot, right? At least that should give you a clue if you want to get spun on one of those stations. But yeah, the DJs, they're positive. They're uplifting. They're maybe sarcastic. They may be whatever their particular flavor is, right? But they want to keep it up. Yeah. Because they want you listening. So they want to make the listener smile. They give off a positive vibe. So you think they're going to be in a big hurry to kill all that positive vibe by playing a bunch of slit your wrist negative songs? No. Right? So they may play one or two kind of downer songs, right? But it's going to be a small majority or a small minority of the songs they play, right? That's morning drive time radio. Yeah. So I think, if I want my stuff played on the radio, let's think about that. Who wants to hear that on the way to work? Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And what do you want to hear on the way to work?
Yeah. Now, as creatives, we may be geared a little differently. Like, I can hear a downer ballad, slip my wrist, anytime.
Yeah, and appreciate it.
And appreciate it. It's so good. A lot of people aren't that way. They just want to feel good on the way to work. Yeah. They want something a little numbness for the, the funeral march into town. Right. So, all right. So that's the morning drive time. What about the other drive time? There's a drive home, right? So at this point, what is the listener at the end of the day? They're worn out. They're probably stressed. They're long day they didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
They're just trying to decompress a little bit before they get home so they don't tear into their family.
Yeah.
You know, they'd be a better husband, be a better mom, whatever.
Or maybe gearing up to tear into their family, depending on what kind of person they are.
Yeah, I can't wait to take this out. Yeah. So, you know, the listener has their own problems, right? They had a bad day at work or even a good day, whatever. But who wants to hear about the singer's problems?
Yeah.
And so, say if they've had a bad day at work, sometimes you know, man, there were times when I was day jobbing, I'd find some old Guns N' Roses, I'd find some loud rock, and I would crank it up, and I'd kind of let it do this yelling for me.
Yeah.
What I felt like, right?
Yeah.
So a release.
Yeah.
Other times you're happy and you want to hear Walking on Sunshine because you just got a raise.
Mm-hmm.
Other times you want to, you know, you had a bad day, but you want to hear something that at least make you not feel worse.
Yeah.
You know, when's the good time to go, I want to feel worse?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Not usual, right? That's not the general trend of what people are wanting to listen. Again, we might, as creators, we may listen a little bit differently than a lot of folks. So I think that's another thing about, is your song road ready? Now, these are not rules, but these are tools, ways of thinking about putting yourself in the listener's, I guess, driver's seat. Or right shot.
You know,
what do they want to hear?
I'll add something else to that.
Yeah.
I remember you saying, I can't remember what publisher that you had the interview with or that you were talking to, but to this day, now these are from professional writers who have publishing deals.
Uh-huh.
The publishers are getting 90%.
Yeah, I think that might have been Tim Hunzy over at Parallel Entertainment.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I'm talking about, still gets mostly ballads.
90% are ballads. And man, so to me, I just think from a numbers thing,
Knock knock.
like if you say, you know what, the next 15 songs I'm gonna write, just as an exercise in being intentional, and an exercise in like a creative sort of, I'm gonna corner you over here for a second, you know, don't write anything that doesn't have a tempo.
Yeah.
You know,
You can still be happy,
or
it can be sad.
Don't write anything that doesn't have a tempo.
It's gotta have a tempo.
And those 15 songs are gonna be like, I mean, clearly for whatever reason, it just seems to me that all songwriters skew towards a ballad. Like they're just drawn towards a ballad. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Why is that? Right? Like,
I think for myself as a lyricist, right? So I come at it kind of more idea first, and for some reason those kind of ballad, the deeper, the heavier, maybe sad. Pain is more interesting to dive into and dissect and pull stuff out of, maybe in happiness.
Right.
When you're happy, you just kind of want to go be happy. When you're sad, it's when you sit down in your room with your little notebook that you scribble all over in your guitar, and you're like letting stuff out that has to come out. Most people are like, I'm so happy, I can lock myself in my room, pull out my ukulele. No, it's like I'm running down the sidewalk, going being happy. So I think that's where a lot of people start, is that angst that I got to get stuff out. I don't know how to get this stuff out. And so,
clearly they don't end there. I mean, even when they become pro, they're still shoveling that out.
Yeah, a good pain idea in lyric just seems a lot more interesting and maybe just easier than. And also, you want to touch emotions, and you're pulling emotion out of yourself, and a lot of time that ends up being the balladish, those kind of heartfelt
do you
stuff.
Think? Do you think a publisher, like, you could ever go to a publisher meeting and play them, like, I'm exaggerating, but 20 like kick butt upbeat songs, and they're gonna be like, well, do you have any ballads? Like,
that would be weird.
Probably ever happen?
That would probably be weird.
Be like, wow, okay. Like, even just hearing 10, 20 songs in a row that are upbeat, they would be like, okay. Like, let's.
I mean, they might just be out of curiosity to see if you can go there, but it's more out of curiosity than. Yeah, but give me something I can pitch. Like,
right. Like, I got plenty of ballads. Like, here's a whole bunch of fresh new songs. Let me put you in the top 10% of opportunities. Yeah. If it's not a ballad, starting right off with that.
Yeah. You're more what they're looking for. I mean, it can be, if it's the right ballad or slower song, slower mid to ballad, it just has to be like Song of the Year type song, or you wrote it with the artist. Mm-hmm. Right. That's different.
But you know what? Like, for branding, I even think about this. Like, back in the 80s, right, the hair band thing, that's where I came from. Like, the first song that they would always have would be a rocker, right? When they're developing the brand for the band, their hair bands, they're rock and roll, they're cool. The first song is Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
The second song is Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah.
You know, the first song is, off of Whitesnake. I can't remember the name of it now, but then the second song was the ballad. You know, the ballad was always the second song.
Yeah.
So when you're doing the branding kind of thing as a songwriter, do the same thing. Like, come in and show them a bunch of your upbeat stuff, then playing the ballad. Because otherwise, I feel like you can get an eye roll right off the bat. Like,
well, it's just like, hey, this person may not know what we need.
Yeah.
But if you're leading with, I know what you need. You need tempos. You always need, and if it's a strong tempo, now I'd rather play a great ballad than a sucky tempo.
Yeah.
But if you only have sucky tempos, you're not really ready for that meeting yet.
Good point.
But, if Guns N' Roses say if Welcome to the Jungle had not been a hit, Sweet Child of Mine wouldn't have been next.
That's right.
They would have said, well, okay, let's just take another swing at a tempo. I bet.
Yep.
Because they know that's what radio wants.
They'd play Brownstone or something like that. Yeah.
Radio wants tempo. So if we got to get one of those that works, and then they'll be willing to listen to a softer side.
This is kind of an exercise, too. We're getting off the beaten path a little bit here.
Yeah, but it's all good.
But this is an exercise like in...
I really didn't have much for this one, so...
In sales, I mean, like a good... So I got a 25-year sales career. You know, I've been national sales manager for a lot of different like corporate entities. Man, people shop by comparison.
Yeah.
They don't shop by quality. We think we do, but we don't. We like to think we do. We like to think we know all about it, that we've done all the research. But at the end of the day, we shop by comparison, you know? And so, I mean, you don't really, most people, 99.9% of people don't really know the difference between a 4-cylinder engine and a 6-cylinder engine, except that it's 2 more cylinders. Therefore, it should be, more powerful, 50% more powerful, and it's bigger, so it should cost more, right? But then your mind could be blown when you're like, this Lotus Esprit over here is 4-cylinder engine could blow away like your 8-cylinder. Yeah. And you're like, wait, what? Like, yeah. So you don't really know. We think we know, but we don't know. We shop by comparison. And so when you think about that, like a good real estate agent is going to go out, if they know you want to buy a Craftsman home, they're going to do 2 things. And maybe they figured out from talking to you that you're the kind of person that's the fixer-upper. Or maybe you're the kind of person that wants to buy it and there's little work to do. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. They just have to know who you are, right? They have to know who the customer is.
Right.
So a good real estate agent, mark my words, is going to show you 3 homes. 2 of them are going to be Craftsman, and one of them is going to be some outlandish thing that you don't want to see. But that's by design. That's intentional. They're going to show you the first crappy thing that's not a Craftsman home first. Then they're going to show you the Craftsman home that you don't want. If you're the person that's the fixer-upper, they're going to show you the perfect Craftsman home. It's all down. Oh, this is kind of cool. And then they're going to show you the deal on the block, which is what you really want. That's the last thing you're going to see. That's the Craftsman home, the kind of home that you want, that requires the work that you need. And it's everything right there. And you have already, this one looks way better because of what you've already seen. Okay, they're not going to show you what they think they're going to sell you first. Yeah. So think about that in terms of like your songs, like when you're pitching it. Yeah, if you got that knockdown, drag out ballad, play them a couple really killer up tempos, and then by the way, and then they're going to be all frothy.
You can do it all.
Like, oh my gosh, you're the best thing that ever happened. Yeah. Instead of another ballad, because the bottom line is that ballad isn't going to start right out with a lyric. It's probably going to be, at least 8 bars of stuff of eye rolling, like, oh, God, please, not. And then he's thinking, he's inside his head, or she's inside her head, the publisher. So I just thought of that. But
so it's, again, the same thing, though. You're putting yourself in the mind of the listener. Is it road ready? Is it, who wants to hear this in the vehicle? And I think that's an important thing to think about. I went through one of my old notebooks. I kept this old notebook with a lot of notes, just my songwriting journal from back in my Arkansas days, and when I first started making trips to Nashville and had first moved here for like the first year. Like all my meeting notes were in here from publisher meetings, ASCAP. The meeting I had with Ralph Murphy I talked about was probably notes were in there, and just my musings in it. So it's interesting that every once in a while I'll go back and I'll look through there and like, what was my plan, my songs that I was pitching, and my best stuff.
And, that's cool.
And it was interesting because there's a song that I'd written with a writer in town, and it was basically, it's called Lonely at the Bottom. And I wrote this with the hit #1 writer, but I brought in the idea, and the phrase lonely at the top, well, it's pretty dang lonely at the bottom too. And the thing was like, basically it was a breakup song. She was gone, and he's like, I hope you're doing well. She's climbing that ladder. She's climbing up to the top, but he's like, it's kind of lonely at the bottom too. And it wasn't just the fact he was at the bottom because she left or whatever, but also, but it had some drive, kind of Montgomery Gentry kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But also the fact that, you know, he's been knocked down, like, work-wise. You know, he's, you know, got let go at the whatever, and
right.
And so all this stuff,
it all came together.
It all came together
storm,
lonely at the bottom, right? And I saw some notes where I played it for some publishers, you know, because I was just trying to get feedback. They're like, man, what do they say? Too much pity for the singer. Mm-hmm. You know, don't make me feel sorry for the singer. Yeah. I was like, interesting. You know, and looking at those notes now, it's not that the singer can't lose, right? But they shouldn't be kind of a loser,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Like it's just a little too much. Going, oh, you left me and you're climbing the ladder, and not only that, but I lost my freaking job and you. And it was
it's like really cut to wrist kind of stuff.
Yeah, even though there was some drive and some Montgomery Gentry kind of.
Think about that in terms of the breakdown you did on "Marry Me," right? Mm-hmm. Where he's like, she's going to get married, but she doesn't want to marry me. So that's pity, pity, pity. But then in that bridge,
he's a good guy.
He's a good guy, and he's not going to hold it against her. So there's a redemption in there.
Yeah, he's not a loser. He just lost.
Yeah. And say that again, because that's good.
Yeah, it's okay for your singer to have lost, but you don't want him to be a loser.
Right.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it is in that song. He lost. You Marry Me, he lost. But he wasn't a loser. I mean, because he's a good guy, you know, probably you feel empathy for this person. He's a good guy, and probably a lot of girls are like, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
It's,
all the girls are like that.
For him particularly.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting seeing that. It was like he was, or, you know, there was another one where I wrote with a mutual buddy of ours years ago, and it was like a guy song, but it was like, you know, she reminds me of you. There's this girl in this coffee shop I see now and again, and she got her green eyes, whatever, but, you know, she reminds me of you and whatever. And the thing is, like, because she's a stranger and she treats me like a stranger. You know, she reminds me of you.
Ooh.
Talking about, you know, your ex or your current about to be ex or whatever. And
it's
just
wicked.
Yeah, but it was cool. We wrote it, but one of the publisher notes too was like, oh, too much pity for the singer. My God. You know, it's just like, oh, who wants to be that guy that's just like kind of belly aching about, you don't treat me right.
Yeah.
It depends, and it was more ballady too, so it was just kind of too woe
much.
is me.
Yeah.
Too much pity on the singer. So I thought that was interesting. Kind of feeds into like, hey, the listener has their own problems. Yeah. So some of that stuff you can get away with, but it depends on how you frame it. Do you put enough muscle behind it where it's not just like that song These Days by Rascal Flatts. I've mentioned it several times in my blog and teaching and stuff. But, you know, this is that where he's running into the old girlfriend. And, hey, girl, is that you? Wow, your hair got so long. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I really do. And all this stuff. They're catching up. And I heard you married a rodeo cowboy. Wow, that ain't the girl I knew. And all this stuff. And that's kind of what you're up to. What am I up to? Well, and then of course it's, well, I wake up and teardrops, they fall down like rain. I put on that old song we danced to, and then head off to my job because not much has changed. Come home, check the phone, you know, just in case. Go to bed, dream of you. That's what I'm doing these days. Man, get over it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's so, if you just read that, you're like, if you actually said that to somebody, that would be like, she'd be like,
awkward.
Well, yeah. My plane. They don't wait, do they? So, bless you.
That's funny.
But, you know, but they put it in a big, feel-good, big melody, so it didn't feel as whiny as the lyric is. Like, if they put that in a ballad,
yeah,
you know, I wake up and teardrops, they fall like rain. You know, whatever. It'd be like, oh, my gosh. No one would cut that thing.
Yeah.
But instead, it was a big number one for them, and it was totally whiny, really. But the melody pulled it out of that, so you didn't feel that way.
Right.
You felt emotional, but you didn't feel like totally woe is me, so pity. So the melody kind of helped pull it out of that. But that was the song was a big hit. So, you know, going back to the people at the end of the day, maybe they want songs to help them forget about the day, or songs to help them blow off some steam, like those angry, you know, take this job and shove it or whatever. But odds are they don't want songs that were going to send them into a deeper funk on the drive home. Or maybe they had a good day and they want to celebrate, right? Celebrate good times. Come on.
Yeah.
It's time to celebrate and have a good time.
That's right.
In which case, it's definitely time for a positive song. Or they're like, it's Friday, I'm free, I don't have to be me till Monday, let's party, let's crank it up, and let's go. Because tonight we going out.
Yeah.
Because I've worked all week. So any way you look at it, radio is mostly going to play like positive songs. And even if they're not positive, maybe feel good. Like these days. Wasn't positive, but it felt good.
Yeah.
It make you feel good. Even though it's heartache with the beat, right? So, it may make the listener feel good, feel empowered, and generally make them more open to listening through the next round of commercials. Because that's radio's goal. Radio's goal is not to get you to listen to songs. It's to get you to listen through commercials.
That's right.
Because that's how they make their money. And so I think just in general, when in doubt, write positive songs. Or at least if you do heartache with a beat, something that's going to make them feel good, even if it's not a positive song. I mean, like Ugly Kid Joe, I Hate Everything About You.
Yeah.
Not a positive song.
No.
It feel good, it's fun.
But it was a huge hit for them, and I personally hated that song.
But it was a big hit.
Kid Joe, never liked those guys. Yeah, but it was like, it's a huge hit. It was
Huge
a
hit,
massive hit. Like that one song put them on the map.
Yeah.
For sure. And you know what? Like, okay, I got a challenge. Like, go back and take an inventory of the last 15 songs that you wrote. Mm-hmm. How many of them, like, it might be kind of sobering to be like, oh, these are all slow ballads that are just, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, like, for the next 15, just to see if you can do it, right? Just to see if you can do it. Just write nothing but at least upbeat. If you're going to put a negative thing in there, like with the Rascal Flatts thing, make it upbeat. Like and
how's it going to make the listener feel?
Yeah, and make it feel good.
Yeah,
make it feel good, and then see what happens with it. I just feel like that's a worthwhile artistic exercise. Like maybe you're in a funk or something like that. Yeah. Well, it's
market research.
Yeah,
we're in sales.
Yeah.
We're in the problem-solving business. We're in the service business. Yep. If you want to write commercial songs that get on the radio, you need to understand what gets on the radio. Yep. And stop trying to bend reality to your will, but go, what are they buying?
Yep. And the market decides. You don't get to decide, Yeah,
you don't. I can write songs and wish that the market would come over. And to an extent, you kind of do that. You try to write ahead of the market. But it also makes sense to go, well, what are they buying?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should at least think about that. We just started the C4 experience this month. So every week in October, I'm meeting with a small group of writers, and we're just going through to learn how to write market smart songs. And so one of the lessons coming up is diving into positive, up tempo, and love or depth songs. And part of it is to go, hey, okay, pick your chosen chart, whatever genre, whatever your target is. For me, it's the country chart. And here's the top, go to the top 20, and you chart them as far as going, is the song positive, make me feel good? Is it tempo? What's the tempo? Is it up tempo, mid, or slow? And is it like a love song, lost love song, or some sort of life depth kind of song, And let's do the math and see and then go back 6 months, find an old chart, and for another reference point and see if it's changed much. And man, you go in the top 20, it doesn't matter if the artist wrote it, it doesn't matter if somebody else wrote it, it's like mostly up-tempo, mostly positive, and mostly love. Yeah. And now go and find your 15, what you feel like is your strongest songs, and do the same thing to them. And look at that, and you're like, oh, I'm 50% ballad, and I'm 40% positive, and I'm, mostly write songs about donuts or whatever.
Yeah, go back and take an inventory of what's really going on.
Yeah, I'm not really reflecting. I don't look like what I'm trying to sell to.
Yeah.
And not that you have to be exactly carbon copy what they do, but
there's catharsis in there. Like, I remember listening to an interview with Janie Lane from Warrant was talking about, like, he always wrote songs for his band. They wrote their, he was the songwriter guy. And then this one time, he got the opportunity to write the soundtrack for a movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was really fun because I didn't have to go to this one spot in my heart or whatever.
Yeah.
I sort of had to write about the story, and I had to watch the movie and think about the different stories that were going on. And it was a different way to be creative. It was like in this other room that was right next door to the one I'm used to writing in. And it can be like really artistically freeing just to try to go into that other room. Even if it's for like, make it 5 songs, but just say, okay, I'm not going to do anything but write up-tempo songs for the next 5 songs or 10 songs or 15 and do that. And I think it's cleansing, right?
Or even take some of your ballads and go, All right,
switch them out.
I'm just going to try and
rev them up,
and just rev them up.
That's pretty sick.
I did a teaching thing with Jimmy Yeary at Martha's Vineyard, and he wrote a hit for Rascal Flatts called "Yes I Do," and he was not in a happy place that day when he went into his co-write. He was just sad and whatever, and moping around, and he's like, I'm just not feeling like writing a tempo. But eventually his co-writer, who's a pro, knows what he's doing, was like, hold on, I'm just going to put a reggae beat. I'm just going to start kind of playing this reggae feel, and you just tell me what you're feeling. He's like, do I cry? Do I do this stuff? Wake up in the night, start to cry? Yes, I do. Do I do this? Do I do that? Yes, I do. So this really kind of mopey lyric, but it had this like reggae, feel under it, which felt so good.
Yeah.
And they got a Rascal Flatts cut out of it.
Because they did it, because they just changed the feel.
They just changed the feel, but it was he's like, I was just telling how I felt, and I felt like crap.
Okay,
basically. I was sad and heartbroken and whatever, and I just poured that out. But he's like, okay,
but to that beat,
reggae.
So that's something that famous producer Rick Rubin used to do, and he was always with the same drum beat. He did it successfully with Weezer, and he did it successfully with Tom Petty, where he would wait until like a week before the downbeat on the record start and the train's on the tracks, they're about to go in and record, and then he comes back and he kind of BS's the artist, and he's like, look, the label says they're not hearing a single, we got to write something, because he wants to put pressure on him. And he'd be like, here, and he would hand him Pour Some Sugar on Me, okay, from Def Leppard.
But just
he'd just hand him that song and say, write something to this drum beat.
So he'd hand the full song, not just a drum beat.
Hand the full song and say, write it to make a song around this drum beat, and that became the lead-off single for Weezer's. That was Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills. Yeah. That's where I wanna be. And then It's Good to Be King. Tom Petty. Same kind. That was his. Now they're twisted versions of it.
I mean, they're not the same song. There's no copyright issue.
But that drum beat. Yeah. That big hit drum beat, like he just would say, hey, start here, write it to this. And they didn't have time to mess around and think about it because they were under the gun, and so they just did this thing, right? And this diamond came out of all this pressure. On another note, real quick, because we're running a little bit long, but you were talking about just picking some really horrible lyrics or something, and, like sad lyrics and putting them upbeat. You know who did a really killer job of that with the #1 song was the producer that did Natalie Imbruglia's Torn. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Back in the day? So I encourage everybody, if you kind of want to get a feel for this, go reacquaint yourself with the song, because you know the song, right? Natalie Imbruglia, the song's called Torn, but the original writer, okay, go and look for the original writer. I can't remember her name, But if you look at the lyrics, maybe it'll say at the bottom of this because I'm looking at it does. Ann Previn, Preven. Listen to Ann Previn's original version of this song. It's this tear your flesh from bone, sad ballad that is like, I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked on the floor. Illusion never changed into something real. I'm wide awake and I can see the perfect sky is torn. You're a little late. I'm already torn. I mean, it's brutal.
Wah, wah, wah.
And then, I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. And it's like totally worked, right? And I remember her being interviewed, Ann Previn being interviewed on Howard Stern. And he was like, man, aren't you just pissed off that producer just ruined your song? He's like, I can't believe it, because she sang it for him live, and he's like, oh my God, that's incredible. And she's like, pissed off? No, that bought me in my own studio, that bought me this, that bought me that. I can walk in any record label I want, talk to whoever I want. No, it was great. She didn't give a damn, because some writers get all wound up about that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But what an interesting thing, like, it just made me think of that with the lyric to a faster tempo. Yeah. And what a great exercise that would be for a songwriter. Take your last 5 ballads and try to make them just for giggles, just for finger painting exercises. Like, what could you come up with?
What do you have? You have nothing to lose, because you have. If you like the new version, sweet. If you like the old version, you still have it. Yeah, it doesn't go away. Yeah, that reminds me of that old Tom Hanks movie, That Thing You Do. Yeah, about the Wonders, the old Eaters. Yeah, and they had this ballad, or Jamie or whoever the lead singer wrote this. You doing that thing you do, whatever, that ballad. And then they get that new drummer, Shades, and the first gig, he just starts playing. They're like, you're playing too fast. You're playing, you doing that. Then they have a hit. And they're like, you're playing too fast. He's like, whatever.
He's like, let's rock the house, man.
Yeah.
Shades. Yeah.
And it's their one-hit wonders. So, anyway, not a real example, but a fun movie.
Well, right on. Well, if anybody wants to help their song along, they can do what with you?
Well, a great place to start with me is a gift from Brent.com. I have a free ebook where you can download an ebook that I'm just giving away. It's called Think Like a Pro Songwriter. And just go to giftfrombrent.com. Gives you insight into kind of how pros think, and it gets you going. It also puts you on the Songwriting Pro Insiders list, so you can find out about opportunities to get a hangout with pro writers and publishers and all kinds of stuff that we're doing. So it gets you in the know on those opportunities. And you get the blog shows up every week with tidbits like this and all that good stuff. So it's free. Giftfrombrent.com.
Boom, there you go. All right, guys. Well, listen, once again, thank you very much to Disc Makers. We're proud to partner with them. They've got everything you need, from CDs, DVDs, and T-shirts, hats, like the whole. They get
DVDs and
whatever you need, they got it. I'm telling you, it's killer. And join the C.L.I.M.B community, guys, on Facebook. We'll let you in. There's a lot of really good stuff going on in there. I mean, people talking back and forth, answering questions, good stuff. Brent and I still, for the most part, are getting in. If you're asking us a question, we'll get in on it, and spend some time. I think everybody would agree on the C.L.I.M.B community that we spend some quality time.
Yeah, it's a good place.
If we got to answer something, and then subscribe to the podcast. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating or review. It takes you 30 seconds. That helps us out, and share it. We're here. This podcast exists because we want you to win, guys. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.